I've lived 1,000 lives. I've piloted 1,000 souls. I've killed and fought at night just for another role.
This is the Happy Jacks RPG podcast, a roundtable discussion that's a mix of friendship, humor, unbridled enthusiasm, and tabletop RPG topics sent in from around the world.
Just for another
No.
Hello, and welcome to Season 34, Episode 25 of the Happy Jacks RPG podcast. My name is Kimmy.
And I'm Kadave.
Today, Tanner talks 40K and pipe dreams. Dougler asks about recycling prep. And from the archive in 2018, Isaac shares a GMing success story. If you'd like to contribute a question or story to the show, you can email us at happyjacksrpg@gmail.com. That's happyjacksrpg@gmail.com. Or you can drop something in the mailbag channel of the Discord. Please do that. We're very low on content. It's getting to the point where we're starting to have to maybe consider other kind of options for the podcast and how the podcast functions. Because obviously I think part of it is our very active, very helpful Discord community. I think people are getting questions answered.
Answering questions.
In our awesome community.
Listen, you efficient and awesome people.
Yes. Please stop being so helpful. No. Continue being helpful. But it's getting to the point where we might have to be looking at some sort of new evolution of what the podcast is. So if you have ideas for that also, let me know. Because we're not getting enough write-in content on the Discord or by email at this point. We still have lots of listeners. The email has not proportionally dropped in any way to listeners. So I think people are just like I said, finding answers other places. The world has changed. So yeah, there might be some changes coming. So we'll see. Or write in emails. So we don't have to worry about it. Looking at you. You can't see me because a lot of you are listening, but I'm looking at you. Giving you the disappointed teacher
Right out
face.
the little tiny speaker hole.
Right now.
Just an eye. That's like a horror movie right there.
Oh,
let me look into the bottom of my iPhone.
Oh,
and there's just a little tiny eye peeking out.
I mean, it's not inaccurate.
Well, it's a little tiny eye attached to a horrible surveillance apparatus.
Yes, absolutely. Anyway, announcements. We are at the end of Season 34. Welcome to the final episode of Season 34.
No.
Yeah, and we will be taking 2 weeks off. 2 weeks. And we will be coming back with Season 35. I believe the first episode will be Saturday, January 18th. So we will be recording the show live on Saturday afternoons starting at 5 p.m. Pacific time in Season 35. And as I explained in previous shows, that's so that we can go hang out and drink afterwards. That's really it. Sorry. Also, our next game days is January 11th. Very excited. We have a whole bunch of things being run. We have hosts who are doing things. I've been trying to decide what I'm going to run, and I think I might end up running Virgins and Vixens. So I'm excited about that. It's been a while since I've actually run that game, despite selling it. So I am excited about that. And yeah, there's a bunch of other games that are already on there. To go ahead and play in that, you can join happyjacks.org/Discord. It's free. You just join. It's a great community, very helpful, wonderful people. And go down to the Game Days channel and you can sign up to play. Or if you've been there for a little while, run something. We do have a little bit of a commitment. You have to have been part of the server for a while before we trust you to run something, since a lot of people's emotions and well-being are in a game. But if you're new, you can totally always play and then run something at the next one. Mm-hmm. All right.
And they're never that far apart.
It's every other month.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what it's not like, oh, you missed this one, wait a year. No. Yeah. It'll be back before you know it.
And you only have to talk a little bit in the Discord. So honestly, if you're just really dedicated for a couple days, you can get enough Discord points to get to the point where you're allowed to run a game. So just be dedicated enough. There's a lot of people talking, so there's a lot of conversation to be had. And yeah, okay. Our indie designer of the month is still Megan Dawson Jaffe. They. And they are part of Nerdy City Games. You can find their work by searching Nerdy City on DriveThruRPG or looking for Nerdy City on Instagram. This week, we are talking about Command Droids, a world transformed. It is a tabletop role-playing game about giant transforming robots in the 80s. Transformed. Okay, anyway. It is an RPG that puts you in control of your own transforming robot character in an era that is defined by toy mythology and the neon glow of pop culture. Haley's Comet is coming through. Music videos are on TV, the Soviets are in the news, and Alpha Columbia needs you to help defeat the Fantic Despot Omega Polaris. I think I said that right. Will you be an agile jet fighter, a powerful truck, a sleek sports car, or perhaps something stranger? You get the complete rules for creating both your command droid and their human pilot. Over 100 alt modes from helicopters to home appliances. Dozens of customizable ships, weapons, devices, locations, and more. And all of that you get for $25 on Drive-Thru RPG.
Nice.
Yes, it's very cool. I love the neon glow of pop culture. Like, it's very 80s vibe. Anyone who played Transformers or watched the cartoon for ages.
Yeah. Yeah, that was me.
Yeah.
For sure.
Same.
It was way better than G.I. Joe.
Oh, yeah. So much more interesting.
Except that one G.I. Joe arc about making, it'll come to me, Serpentor, their like new leader. They had ousted Cobra Commander, and they were like, we're gonna get the like genetic material from the worst people in history to make our leader. And they're like, we're gonna get some from Hitler, and we're gonna get some from Genghis Khan, and we're gonna get some like just all of these great warlords, and put together this massive. And it was this cool like romp through history for G.I. Joe, which was normally like, we have arrived at an indiscriminate place and we will shoot each other.
Yeah. But not actually hit each other.
Correct. We will shoot through the air towards the enemy.
Yes. And someone will fall down.
Yes. There will be someone rolling down a hill.
Yeah, absolutely. I bet getting the Genghis Khan DNA was really easy.
Well, it didn't even, it was, I'm sure it was I have vague memories of it.
Yeah.
It's not like I've seen it since it was new on television.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
But yeah, it was a whole thing. All right.
All right. Mailbag number one.
Hello to Kimmy and whoever she has dragged into her garage of madness.
I should put that on the door.
Yes.
Garage of madness.
Abandon all hope. You enter here. Here is my offering to the ever-hungry maw that is Happy Jack. Even more accurate.
Yes.
This is not really a question, more of a discussion prompt, hopefully. I love the setting of Warhammer 40k. Every year or so, I try and talk my group into playing one of the TTRPGs for the 40k setting. Rogue Trader, Dark Heresy, Wrath and Glory, etc. Or even use a different system like Savage Worlds. The responses I get usually run along the lines of, it's too bleak and depressing.
I mean...
Yeah, it's pretty terrible.
Yeah.
The most recent response, however, had me scratching my head. We would play 40k if the story wasn't just about fighting. This puzzled me because we usually end up playing some variety of D&D. You know, the game all about killing monsters and taking their stuff.
Yes.
Our most recent campaign was Curse of Strahd. Yeah. Known for its calm and not at all dangerous endeavor. While there are some fun RP opportunities in that module, most of our RP was based around the PCs talking with each other. Aside from that, though, it is just go here, fight stuff, get the MacGuffin, repeat. Maybe you all can tell me what the difference is, because I sure can't see it. Enough rambling. Discussion points. Number 1, Kimmy.
Yeah, me. Yeah.
Do you think Starscape could be used to run a game set in 40k? I think a Rogue Trader type story would work wonderfully. Or a story of a ragtag group of humans and aliens stuck on the wrong side of a rift in space. Fair enough.
Yeah, okay.
Number 2, what are some of the settings, franchises, and or systems you have wanted to play in but could never find a group to do so? Interesting. I hope my attempt to coalesce some of ADHD-fueled mind ramblings was able to help satiate the hunger of Happy Jack. Until next time, stay awesome. Tanner, Fuzzy Boff on Discord.
Oh.
Well, thank you, Tanner.
ADHD solidarity. Okay, let's go back to the first thing, which wasn't actually a numbered question, but like, what's the difference between, like, what might their players be thinking of, like, well, 40k is just about fighting?
I think the big problem is Warhammer 40k is just a tactical table game. without getting into the minutia of the RPGs that are specifically written for that universe. So while, yes, everybody has heard of 40K, and we all know that Henry Cavill loves collecting the miniatures and playing the game, we aren't thinking about him sitting down to play Rogue Trader.
Yeah.
We're thinking about him sitting down with a measuring tape and a bunch of dice and templates and figuring out the game on a 4x4 square.
Yeah, like with at the cons where they have like their armies, and I go by and like, wow, those are so pretty painted. I'm leaving.
Right,
yeah.
right. And here's the thing. I also like playing that game.
No, yeah, I just am afraid.
Sure.
I don't want to spend all the money that I inevitably will start spending.
It's like, it's time to play 40K. I hope you have $4,000 to buy your army and all the paint and then 4,000 hours to learn how to paint it all. Super props to the people that paint minis. I can never be one of you. I have tried repeatedly and not succeeded. The closest I got was I got some really good looking stormtroopers once. And stormtroopers are mostly white. So it worked out really well.
Well done.
But I think the trick is maybe offer to run a one-shot for them and use the 40K universe without necessarily even giving up that secret first. Like, I do a similar thing with my kids and getting them to try foods they don't think they're going to like, right? We had forest soup at home that was a mushroom soup because my daughter refused to eat a mushroom based on the idea of a mushroom. And she absolutely adored the forest soup that I made, where I had used an immersion blender to chop up the mushrooms into tiny bits that were not identifiable as mushrooms.
Yeah.
Ta-da.
That's what my husband does for onions with me. Like,
sure. It works.
It does.
It's fine. And I'm not saying you have to lie to your friends to play a game.
Just
but,
omit facts.
Right. Just get them in the game and show them what you see as the positives and see if anybody jumps along. Now, if they don't like that one shot, okay, you did it. Ta-da. But, oh, hey, thank you.
Well, yeah. We had a lot of action in the chat for those of you listening at home. A lot of subs.
Sorry.
Thank you so much. Sorry, we don't usually have that many at the same time, so thank you. I agree. I think there's the vibe and the idea of what 40K is, and that's very much secondary to that is all the TTRPG, the role-playing aspects of it. I would be curious, and this might not work, maybe your friends know 40K really well, but if you're like, hey, I want to play Rogue Trader, or hey, I want to play a game of Dark Heresy, and just leave out the 40K aspect of it, just like Dave was saying, like, those are very cool, intriguing names that I would be like, oh, that sounds fun. Yeah, what's that about? And just like, don't mention 40K. And I feel like it's that. It's like the PR of the game is really what you're contending with.
I am not. I'm Dave, not Tyler, that used to do the book reviews while drunk.
Yes.
Although I liked those very much myself.
Yes. So podcast listeners, a previous listener from seasons like 2 and 3, it's like, oh hey, I just rediscovered us. So.
You may more recognize me as one of the B team people from back then. That's what we called ourselves.
Yes. So I again, I think that it's like the PR problem of 40K. And I don't know, it probably, there might be an excuse that they're using because they don't want to mess with a new rule set too. Really drill down at them and figure out if that's what it is. Because if they are really comfortable, if they know D&D really well, it can be a lot to ask them to like leave their comfort zone to play a different game. So they might just be using the fighting game thing as like an excuse. But figure it out because they might really love it. And I would find out if they're worried that the fighty game portion of the game means that you get into combat and transition to the standard 40K universe, right? Like that would be difficult. I think it could be done in an interesting and cool way, but to do like a hybrid game where you do the RP stuff with the RP rules and then you get into an actual combat and your team goes and they're on the big battle mat with all the terrain and everything like that could be really cool. Yeah.
But that's a whole other step that we shouldn't talk about yet. Like,
There's a lot there.
just get them playing the game, you know?
Even something very small, like just like that little one shot, or even not even a full one shot, like a full 4-hour thing. Like do like a 2-hour thing, or maybe just have them sit and make characters and see, like, as that first step, like if they're interested in the more of the role playing side of it, like maybe putting the emotional investment of making those characters might be enough to get them to try it.
For sure. I think you could do an amazing game with like the Rogue Trader rules, but run it like the 40K version of Stargate Atlantis.
Oh.
Where you're the crew on this ship and something went weird in the rift and you all are waking up and your ship is kind of messed up and all of that, and and then you guys are dealing with this ship that isn't under your control anymore, and you're trying to fix it and figure out what the stuff is going to do and all that. You could really go for something like that using the Rogue Trader rules and just talk about exploring this crazy giant gothic battleship. You know, it's wild. Like when you think about the detail in the designs of the Warhammer 40K universe, it's cool, man. Like this stuff looks awesome.
And the histories of each of the different factions. It's actually a very unique, interesting setting that really can capture a lot of like people's imaginations and does. So it might just, we're always encouraging people to try new things, even, like whatever it is, like it's interesting. And would Starscape be good for something like that? Your description of Rogue Trader sounds exactly what Starscape would do a great job of. I have not specifically looked at that RPG, so I can't speak with a huge amount of knowledge. But it absolutely would do a ragtag group of people in a spaceship stuck somewhere. Blah, chef's kiss, does it perfectly. It is designed to do almost that exact thing. Yeah. So, absolutely. Whether it's in the 40K universe or in the Star Wars universe or in the Star Trek universe or Firefly or Farscape, it does all of those things. And very well, in my opinion.
I absolutely think you could do it.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be hard at all.
Yeah.
And then it is absolutely not a fighty game. Like, that is not what it's about at all.
No.
That's not what it's designed to work around. But not that you can't have fights. I'm not saying that, but that's not the core design mechanic.
Yeah.
So
I've been writing that part of the book because I've been like spending all my time when I'm not being a parent or a teacher or a podcaster writing, and sometimes I sleep. But
sure.
But like I've just been working on that part of the book because that's like the hardest thing is kind of like all the rule stuff, like all of that's pretty much laid out. So I'm just basically like expounding on that. But that intro at the front of the book where I'm trying to describe what Starscape does is really difficult because it's like, hey, this does really great character stories, not fighty stuff. Like you can do fights, but like it's like this exact conversation where you're like, no, it does it, but it's not the focus of it. And they're not hit point. Like, it's just a very strange thing. You picture someone who has no concept of what it's like, oh, that's a pretty cover. Let's see opening it, like trying to, in a short blurb, explain what you've been doing with the last 6 years of your life of designing, Kimmy. It's like, no pressure. It's very strange. But yes, it would do this great.
Boil down your life's experience to 3 paragraphs.
Three paragraphs, yeah, exactly. And be interesting enough that they don't stop at the first 2 sentences.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
First, what is role-playing? No. I hate that section.
Oh, I'm sorry. I put that in there.
I know. Everybody has to.
We have to.
Because every game could be somebody's first game. I get it.
Yeah.
But that section, kills me. I get to, because I'm that person when I'm reading a book, I can't skip something.
Oh, yeah.
I must plow through it to get through the whole book. But every time I'm like, yes, I understand. Yes, thank you. Yes.
Okay, well, you already have turned the page too many times. Like,
sure.
Way too many times for Mike. I've got 2 paragraphs. It's like, remember when you used to play games as a kid and pretend to be other people? This is the adult version of that with dice and rules, so you don't fight, and there's some things that you don't expect. Like, it's not exactly that, but it's very similar to that. I was like, how can I write? Because I read through like a bunch, like all my RPGs, like in that section. I'm like, all right, all of these sound the same. How can I make it sound a little different than this? So. We'll see.
Remember a time.
Yeah, I'll have you pre-read it, and you're like, I'll get the thumbs down from Dave.
And then you'll be like, oh, it's perfect.
It's fine. Yeah, perfect. Mwah, chef's kiss. No notes. It'll be great. And then what are some of the settings, franchises? Oh, yeah. Or systems that we've wanted to play, but can never find a group.
Do you have any? Because I have a litany.
Well, one of my big ones was Lord of the Rings, but we checked that one off together.
Gotcha.
So that one was so amazing, and that was just like, I was so nervous. Like, I was so nervous after, like, I'm a Lord of the Rings fanatic, blah, blah, blah. For so many years, I'm like, I'm going to fuck up. I'm not going to know anything when I get, it's going to be great. But that was huge for me. What's one of yours?
My big problem is I come across games and I'm like, I would love to play this game.
Yeah.
But I'll never find somebody to run this game for me. So then it turns into, well, I guess I have to run this game because I want to play in this world. Probably, everyone is sick of me talking about how excited I am to run Electric State, and that's coming soon, for sure. But the one that I am absolutely still excited to run and play is the Dune RPG.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's got just a cool make your house mechanic, and like the more prestigious your house is, the more at risk you are of enemies doing things to you. So if you make the little like, we're the house that makes silverware, nobody gives a shit, right? You don't have that many mortal enemies, so you can maneuver around a lot more. But if you decide to make one of the great houses, then suddenly everybody's out to get you. And it looks fun. I've always been a Dune nerd, so I want to play that game desperately. I just need to make sure that I get exactly the right evil machinational people to play in the game.
Gee, that'll be difficult with our friend group.
Well, no, but
Yeah, I know.
it has to be just right.
Just right.
Yeah. And I'm gonna feel like if I ever run that game on a stream, I am absolutely gonna be like the Goldilocks of GMs. Like, that player might be a little too nice. That player might be a little too chaotic evil. Yeah. Like that, to make it just the way I kind of picture the universe.
I'm trying to think of who you're talking about without saying names. I'm just kidding.
Right, I know. Yeah, you'll go through in your head and you'll be like, I know exactly what he's talking about. Yeah.
Clara. I mean, sorry.
Well, see, that's the kind of chaos that might be okay, because it's not like just murder people.
That's true.
Right? Because you can't get into that, right?
No, yeah.
But, yeah.
For sure. Let's see. There are... I've gotten a lot more into Star Wars in the last few years. I would love to play in a Star Wars game. I think I have the same issue with Star Wars that I had before I ran Lord of the Rings, with a little bit lower knowledge base. There's just so much pressure to know every little thing about the world. It's a little scary, but I would love to play a Jedi game. I think some sort of, but
sure.
there's not a lot of systems that do the Jedi part of it super well. So I haven't found a system that I particularly love for that yet. I have an idea for writing one, but I'm not allowed to do that until I get 3 other games done. So, so that's a big one for me.
My problem with Star Wars is I am the king of the, what is it, legacy stuff now. All of that extended universe stuff that was pushed aside in recent years. That's where I lived.
Yeah.
I'm a Star Wars nerd of the era.
Mara Jade and all. Yeah.
So all of those real weird Lando Calrissian finding weird space manta rays. Yeah, okay, let's go.
Yeah.
But
those are just I just remember all those books in junior high and early high school. It was just so easy to they were like potato chips. You just read through those novels super fast. I was the Star Wars trivia champion of my middle school, which was a thing we did during break and lunch. Is we had our trivia books and we saw who was the best.
I see.
We were very cool. But yeah, again, all that knowledge completely not canon anymore. It's
right.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
yeah. It's okay, all that's gone.
Yeah.
And there's so much stuff that has happened that is not in my milieu anymore. because I'm that completionist person, I have never been able to watch the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Right? Because I get started and I watch an episode, I'm like, that was pretty good. All right, okay, keep watching. And then I get to an episode that is just abysmal.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, it might have been okay if I was 8
yeah.
and I could have just gone with it. But now I'm like, oh, please stop. I can't. And then I don't.
Yeah. I watched all those. I love all those. But it does take a while. And I did know that it picks up after season 1. And a lot of people like encouraged me. And then like it got to a point where I then was very excited about it and liked it. And I loved Rebels. Rebels was really good. But there again, like I love things for kids. So it's fine.
And that's the same reason why I never liked the Harry Potter books.
Yeah.
Because a friend of mine gave me one and was like, dude, you got to read this. It's great. It's cool. Urban fantasy kind of. I was like, all right. And I started reading the first book and I'm like, this is not for me. This is not written for me. I'm not. No. Yeah. And put it down. And then I watched the movies. Fine.
Yeah.
I have started watching Skeleton Crew with my family, and I'm having a great time with it. It's delightful. I agree. And yeah, a lot of that old legacy stuff is coming around. Mm-hmm. Who knows? It's kind of it's interesting because I think that Dave Filoni, that's now in charge of all that stuff, is a guy of my generation.
Yeah.
So it's all stuff that he kind of went through and is like, yeah.
It's the one good thing about getting older is that people your age are starting to be in charge of everything.
Right.
So they're like, hey, I like that thing. Oh, okay. They do too. Great. Yeah. Oh.
And then who knows what's going to happen after that.
Oh, man. Youngins.
As a kid, I got to know a guy that was a cinematographer and had done a bunch of film, like Taxi Driver and stuff. But he always said to me, he's like, you go through phases when you have a career in Hollywood. And the first phase is, ooh, who's that? And then it's, ooh, get me that guy.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's, how about you get me somebody that like that guy? Mm. And then it's, who's that guy?
No, it's get me a young that guy.
Get a new version of that guy, yeah.
And then who's that guy?
Yeah, and then please, not that guy anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Another system I really, really want to play, but have not gotten a chance, even though I own it, is the Shield Maidens from Monte Cook Games.
Oh, okay.
Super awesome. Like, it was one of those things that was on Kickstarter, and it's like, I felt attacked by how perfect it was for me. Like,
okay.
It's like...
I have not read it.
It's like sci-fi, cyber, like, modern, futuristic, like, Viking lore. And you can play someone who's not a woman in the game or non-binary, but it is about shield maidens. And you're all fucking badass fighters with these cool, like, cybernetic, like, axes and shields and shit. And I'm just like... And the art's amazing. And it was just one of those things that, like, I could not back it fast enough on Kickstarter. Like, it was literally one of the things where it, like, popped up and I was like, take all my money. Take it all the money. Yes, I want all the little GM screens and dice and everything. And it's beautiful and cool. And I've read through it and I just need to, like, run it or get someone to run it for me. And it will probably be the former. But I just have this, like, vision of, like, this badass, table of femmes and non-binary people at my table that I'm just going to, like, run this badass feminist adventure for. And then, like, we could do it for everyone. Sorry, Dave. But
that's fine.
Just, like, shield wall.
I understand that not every game is for me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the game is for you, but
sure.
That particular table, I just have, like, this vision of it.
I understand completely.
Yeah.
The Goldilocks GM.
Exactly.
For sure.
We do our best to give GMs what they ordered here at Happy Jacks.
Exactly.
There's spreadsheets involved, friends. But yeah, it's just a really cool book with, like, badass art, and it's like a lot of my interests intersecting. So I feel like Samantha also would just, like, lose their shit over that.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. I already saw what you were going.
Yeah, cyberpunk, like Valkyries? Okay. I'm into it.
I dig that.
Yeah. So that's one of my dream ones right now.
I mean, for me, a lot of my games I want to try thing has been sated by going to game cons.
Yeah.
And at least it's even if it's a con game and it's only 4 hours and it's a one shot, you get to sample, right? I look at game cons like a buffet, right? Go around, try the things that you're interested in, grab something, and then, also grab something you've tried before, so you make sure you have a good experience.
Yeah, test the forest soup.
Right. Taste new things, try new things, but also it's going to have some old standbys that you're going to at least get a meal out of.
Exactly.
So there's not a ton of other games that I've never gotten a chance to play. I mean, there's things that I've never actually played, but ended up being like disassembled for parts into other games that I played in, like the old Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
Or the Robotech Macross stuff.
Yeah.
Like that all got, because it was all the weird Palladium verse, just got disassembled and shoved into Rift.
Yeah. I feel like Rifts was a buffet in of itself. Oh, you want to play a dragon? Here you go. Oh, you want to play a knight? Here you go. Oh, you want to play a mech warrior? Here. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's a lot all in one thing.
So yeah. And then back then, like fan-made content was like downloading ASCII art. Right? Like,
oh yeah.
I had like an 1,100 page book of other classes for Rifts that people had made out of like pop culture. So it was like, here's a Highlander. Here's if you wanted to play like the aliens from Star Control 2, if you're out there, old video gamers, you know what I'm talking about. Like you could play one of them and like that kind of stuff. But I ended up taking it and printing it out at school because I didn't want to pay for the paper or the ink. But
legit.
1,100 pages is too much.
So much. Even now, that's so much.
I know. And it's just like some guy on a BBS that assembled all this junk, and I downloaded it to an old 3.5-inch floppy disk and off to go to town. But
I'm so old now. Okay.
Right.
Mailbag too. No, I'm just kidding.
Where's my lumbar pillow?
Yes. Hey, we have very comfortable chairs.
We do. I'm not complaining at all. No.
There's definitely support. All right. Mailbag number 2. Hello, Happy Jacks crew. Today, I hope I have an interesting story / question for you fine people. So I'm going to be running an urban fantasy detective game using the super awesome Action Hero system. Great name. Great name, by the way. I love system names that like don't leave you wondering what it's about.
Yeah, there's no confusion.
No confusion. So we had our session 0, talked about the system, and did lines and veils. Got to make sure the goes and no-goes are still up to date. So after that, we talked about how we want and what we wanted in the game. They decided they wanted to be detectives and have an urban fantasy setting in a game on the level of Supernatural, Midnight Radar, and the Fable comics. So it exists, but not everyone knows about it. So later that week, I was thinking about what I needed to do to get the first session going, making a list in my head about NPCs' locations, some supernatural monsters, and then it hit me. About 6 years ago, I started making some NPCs, locations, and monsters for a game that never happened. And I still have that notebook. And I can use everything from it, with some tweaks, mind you, in this new game. So I guess my question is, have you fine folks ever started prepping for a new game just to realize that you can pull from something you've already written, but never had a chance to use before? Do you have to change much of what you wrote before, or is everything perfect based on everything you did, and no need to change everything at all? That last little part was a joke. Tone is hard to do an email. As always, wishing you all exciting roleplay and fun roles, even if they don't turn out super well. Sincerely, Dougler. Yes.
If your players haven't seen it, it's new to them. I am 100%. I know there was. This is gonna. It might be incendiary. I'm sorry.
Okay.
But back when there was the whole discussion of the meta ogre, right? Was that what we called it?
I believe so. Something like that. Yeah.
Way back, it was like, oh, you prepped this whole encounter with an ogre, and the group decided to go this way, and then you unethically moved the ogre in front of them. Like, you don't do it to undermine the choices of your players. The Quantum Ogre, thank you. That's it.
Quantum Ogre. There you
Right, right. You don't do it to undermine your players, but sometime later in the adventure, there might be a use for that encounter or a slightly reworked version of that encounter again. Mm-hmm. Great. Use it. It's not hurting anybody. You're not, if you were specifically like, oh yeah, well fuck you, you're gonna fight this ogre no matter what you choose. That's an a-hole move,
yeah.
right? Like, don't, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying using content in different ways, and specifically talking about this detective stuff. When I did the Blade Runner actual play recently, I prepped so much stuff.
Yeah.
Because I was absolutely terrified every moment of every game. Like, I think I held it together pretty well, and I don't think I gave it away to the players that I had no idea how this was going to land, but I prepped all kinds of things that I just had in a notebook so that I could go, oh, here's what happens. Ta-da! Or, oh, you went this direction? Here's something. I didn't use it. Did I throw it away? Absolutely not. It is all waiting there in a notebook for me to have to use it some other game in some other setting that I can just adapt, right? You know what? If I ever end up running a Dune game, there's some weird shit from Blade Runner that would translate over real easy. But yeah, the hardest thing for me was the detective part.
Yeah.
Of that, like actually running a mystery. I very much every single session, the thing in my head on my drive here was that Star Trek The Next Generation episode where they accidentally misworded the create an opponent able to defeat Mr. Data.
Yes.
Not able to defeat Sherlock Holmes.
Uh-huh.
And every time I'm like, I'm going into a room with 4 people that are probably smarter than I am, and I am trying to fool them and lead them through a story where they are hunting down my villain.
Yeah.
And every time I'm like, they've got more brain power. Like, collectively, I am outnumbered here and outgunned. So I have to try and come up with something. And it worked out great. I could very easily have seen them going, oh, yeah, well, I think it's this guy. And just zeroing in on my NPC. Did I have a backup plan if that happened? Absolutely. It could have been another NPC.
Yeah.
And that was all prepped ahead of time because, again, I was terrified. Mm-hmm. So if you've got the stuff in a folder, use it.
Yeah. I think, yeah, that's absolutely right. Especially with mystery stuff. Like with yes, player agency, like absolutely, I fully believe in that. But also, like, it's no fun when you sit down to a mystery and like the second session you figure it out. Like, I would much rather as a player have my GM, like, I don't need to feel super smart and like I beat them. Like, I'd much rather have like a great campaign where like, oh, it's still a mystery and we're still figuring it out. Like, I don't know. I that's my personal preference. I know there's players out there who would disagree, but I think that's fantastic. And yeah, like, all that stuff could very easily be skins or saved for another Blade Runner game or put in something else. For our One Ring campaign, it's going to be super embarrassing. I wrote a ton of lore when I was pretending and role-playing an elf on Ultima Online. Like, literally, like, pages and pages of lore. Like, the entire history of the world. Because we had people who were playing D&D elves in Ultima Online, and then we had people who were playing, like, Lord of the Rings elves. But we all wanted to become one big guild together. So I, like, rewrote the history of both elven, like lore. Okay. So they were, like, one together, and they were, like, two peoples that came together, and, like, this whole thing. So there were elements of that I kind of pulled out and kind of wove into quests and things like that. It was very interesting. I was really glad I actually had that somewhere. I was shocked also, super shocked. I was, like, searching elf on my computer and whole shit ton of stuff comes up. And then, like, yeah, so it was kind of neat to, like, one, realize how far I've come with my writing. So much better than I was then. Looking at you, 18-year-old Kimmy. But also, like, seeing some of the ideas were really cool and some of them were interesting. And one of the things we used to do is, because Ultima Online wasn't like a lot of MMOs that came after it that had, like, quest systems. Like you just went out and fought monsters and built a house and stuff like that. So if you wanted to have quests or storylines, you had to wait till they had a real world events where a real game GM came and like ran a live events, or you had to design stuff yourself. So as one of the leaders of the Elf Guild, like we would arrange things. We did like, you know, like you saw the Fellowship of the Ring where they like do the Elven pilgrimage. We would do those. We had like Elven holidays where we would like plan things and stuff like that. So I had a lot of those storylines and stuff that we'd planned, still like the notes from them. So some of those, most of it was, you know, nabbed from Lord of the Rings. I like pulled parts of it and like wove it around what Free League provided already with their really cool landmark system. And it was just kind of neat to like weave characters in and out and like, oh, there's a little glade there. Okay, I'll put this there.
What's a specific thing that we encountered that was from your ancient note? I'm just curious.
No. Yeah. I used it mostly with when we did roles where the good things would happen.
Oh, okay.
So Nanelani, she was my character in Ultima Online.
Oh, rock on.
So
all
she
right.
was an elven priestess that I played, and she was on like the High Council. So that night where we were doing the journey table, and we had that beautiful evening of like singing songs and talking to that elf who was on her way to the west. That was like my character.
That's
So
awesome.
it was really cool. But they're just like little things like that. Usually it was just really fun to pull in Easter eggs for me that no one else will ever recognize. Unless some random person who happened to be on Ultima Online is like, wait a minute.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. That's who that is. Like, no, I doubt it. Like, seriously.
That would be hilarious.
That'd be amazing.
Somebody joins the Discord like, I found you.
Yeah.
We used to play a game together.
Well, we did do a meetup. We used to do meetups. So we did a meetup at Disneyland one time.
Okay.
And I was like, this is when I was still like, I was living in Fullerton and I was going to Disneyland like
It's right
twice a
there,
week because
sure.
I was in college, like literally 4 miles away. So I was just like walking them everywhere. I was like their personal tour guide. And it's very interesting. It was,
Fantastic.
yeah, it was interesting. It was back before that was a more common thing. So I don't know. It's fun. But so I guess it's possible they would recognize me. But I was also like literally 18. I look very different.
And see, I was the exact opposite of the coin on,
Yeah.
on Ultima Online. I discovered that the game wasn't coded for you to have high-speed internet access,
Yeah.
and you could run faster than offensive
Everybody. Yep.
spells. So
You.
I turned into a terrible human being.
Yeah.
And then I would set up roadblocks with furniture so people would have to stop.
Yes.
And then you'd murder them and take their stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great.
I bet you killed me sometimes.
Possibly, I do not remember the shard I played on. I
Oh.
could not tell you that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it was good times.
Good times. Good times.
And then I ended up in a dark elf role-playing guild on EverQuest,
Oh, yeah.
where like somebody, I don't even know where they got it, came up with like a language guide, so we all would.
Oh, yeah.
It was a lot. And then at some point, I got to the point where I was like, I am so tired of playing just a role-playing guild. I would like to see the content in this game in advance. And then there was a whole... I accidentally said that in the wrong channel.
Oops. You got kicked out?
No, I didn't. Everybody's like, oh, really? Oh. And I was like, look, guys, I enjoy the fun we're having here, but I also want to play the game.
Yeah.
So maybe that we could do this like once a week and not every night. Expect everybody to be there the whole time? Okay, all right.
Okay, that makes it, yeah. This has been fun. Fun walk down memory lane. Other stuff that you've I nab stuff from like shows I've watched a lot.
100%.
Yeah, I don't know if that counts as prep, but if I remember something from a very random, small, like fan-made comic of someplace, or like I don't know, just random stuff. I'm like, I'll nab that and pull this out.
I very much, my brain is like pop culture coffee filter.
It is.
So,
That is an amazing description of you and very accurate.
yeah, so it's just, I absorb things and then they just kind of swirl around in there a while, percolate through, and then it distills out into something that I can use at times for sure. So yeah, 100%. I'm stealing constantly from weird indie films from the 90s,
Yeah.
and, like just stuff like that, because it's great, like you see something awesome and you're like, yeah, that's exactly what I want to do here.
Yeah.
one of the Traveler games that Stork and I ran at one of the cons, I based off of The Expanse.
Oh, nice.
Back when it was the first book was the only book out, and it wasn't a thing yet.
Nope.
And I was just like, this is awesome. And the idea of like weird alien zombies is great. Like, let's go. So we did a whole thing on that.
Yeah, the first book is so good. I love that book so much.
Right.
So good. Uh,
I had the weird experience with those books of I had read all of them up to like book 5. And then book 6 came out and I was like, you know what? I'm going to do the audiobook. And I was like, cool. And I, because I was listening to a lot more books than I was reading at that point. And
Yeah.
I popped in my earbud and I started listening to it and I was like, these people sound all wrong. They don't sound anything like my imagination made them
Right.
sound. Ugh. So I never listened to it again. And I went back and read the book.
That's funny. I hate the thing where you like have been reading it in your head and you say someone's name and then you hear the audiobook and they say it differently. You're like, no, that is not. Okay, that is probably their actual name, but
Right.
no.
Right.
Yeah.
The example recently is the new Dune films and Dune TV show. The whatever it is. I don't even remember
About
the Bene Gesserit.
Yeah,
thing,
Bene Gesserit one, yeah. Prophecy.
Prophecy? Yeah,
Prophecy.
something. Anyway,
Something prophesy.
they all say Harkonnen.
Yes.
And my entire existence is based off, it is Harkonnen.
Oh, yeah.
And every time I'm like, it grates on me, but I'm like, fine, you are the keepers of the canon of this universe now.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah. Is it worth watching? Is it good?
I've been having a great time.
Okay.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
And it has made me think of things that I'm like, what is the story? Because I have not read the advanced, like, Kevin Anderson.
Yeah. The children of. Yeah.
That more modern stuff from the Dune universe. I
Okay.
haven't. So Right? It is Harkonnen.
Yes.
It is the Baron Harkonnen, not Harkonnen. Like, it's a weird run together word. Doesn't sound scary, but
It does. It sounds like something that's like in a Harkonnen Carol.
yes, it's not like
Isn't that scary?
intimidating. Yeah,
Or run
you're like
Carol.
I don't see the guy that yanks out the plug of people's hearts for fun. That's not.
I mean,
Right. But I didn't remember what I was talking
prophecy.
about. Oh, but that whole universe, that specific thing, just always tweaks me wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm interested because I keep seeing stuff from the old books, and I'm thinking to myself, like, is this what they're doing here? Is this what this story is leading us to? Like, I don't know. Okay.
Yeah.
But so far I've been wrong, really wrong twice.
Oh, okay.
But
That's good.
But
It's
I
like
like
a
thinking about
way prequel. It's like the beginning of the Bene
yeah, it's like
Gesserit.
20,000 years
yeah,
before.
and the prophecies. Yeah. So I'm interested in, but I'm also like, in my household, I am a huge Dune lightweight. Like, I'm sorry, you've dived into the lore a lot, and you've watched the movies and stuff. It's like, I'm sorry, what? That's like when you walked into our Lord of the Rings game, and you're like, yeah, I saw the movies. Like Sam is so into the Dune lore, and he like,
Sure.
he's like, I don't know if I can watch it. I don't know. I have to wait and see if it's good. So I'm like taking people's temperatures on it. Like I've asked, I think 3 times in different podcasts now about this. Like, what are your takes on it? So I'm going to try and get him to watch it with me, but we'll see.
I've been having a great time.
That's good.
And it's distant enough from the core books that I'm like, you could do almost anything. You know, it's
I think
great.
that's why it's really smart to do that. It's also like the Dune world, even if you try and change it, is still pretty misogynistic. I think moving it to the Bene Gesserits, like, make a cool, interesting story that kind of has more empowered women characters, which really appeals to me.
Sure.
So we'll see. I don't know. If he waits too long, then I will also just watch it without him. But I have a lot of stuff to watch. It's such a long list right now.
That is 100% the problem I have. If I start watching something with my wife, then it kills me.
Oh my
because I'm just like, we are now 3 episodes behind, and I'm not able to use the internet anymore. Please let us watch a few so that I can go back online.
Yeah. He wants to watch like 1 episode a week. I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Yeah, because she's the kind of person that absolutely doesn't mind spoilers. Like,
Yeah.
they don't bother her at all.
Yeah.
And I am the kind of person that I
Yeah.
hate it. Because if I hear even the tiniest thing, I will sit there watching the show and be like, yeah, I know what's going to happen. Son
Oh,
of a
that
bitch.
sucks.
I hate it.
Oh.
So every time we start watching stuff, I'm just like, the one show that it worked out fine for me was Last of Us because I had played the games.
Right.
So I knew at least the through line of the story.
Yeah.
And I'm like, great, okay, it's fine. But other than that, almost everything we start watching together, I'm just like, can we hurry up? Please, let's at least keep up with the weekly release.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I have such a terrible memory that, like, most of the time if I hear a spoiler, I'll forget. It's also magical because I can rewatch shows and not remember what happened last time I watched them.
Oh.
So that's like the best thing. I'm like, I feel like something important's coming up. Hey, okay, yeah. Like, it's very exciting to be surprised every time. Yeah,
There
Goldfish
are
Brain.
precious few television shows I've ever been able to rewatch. And surprisingly, most of them are the like Mike Flanagan horror shows on Netflix.
Yeah. Interesting.
Because he puts, and the thing I absolutely adore in watching film and television is the amount of effort that goes into things that the viewer is not focused on. And his shows are just peak that.
That's awesome.
Right? Like in the first one, the House of Haunting of Hill House.
Yeah, Honey. Oh my gosh.
In that,
Oh,
there is literally a ghost in almost every frame of the show.
Yeah.
And the first time you watch it, you do not see
Nope.
but 10%.
Yeah.
And then you go back and you're like, oh, so good.
Yeah.
It is so good.
Yeah. I hate scary horror movies and all this stuff. And my husband like sat and like held my hands because that show was so good. He's like, you're
worth
gonna love this. It's worth it. I will tell you when the scary bits come up so you can hide under the blanket, and he 100% did. But like there are images from that show that literally haunt my dreams to this day. But also like the story was so good and so amazing and so compelling. It was just fantastic and just incredible chef's kiss writing and the way things tied back. And when you get to the end of it, things that you saw in the beginning make so much sense. You're like, oh, and then things get more scary or less scary as you go. It's so cool. I love that. It's so good. Yeah.
That show has actually one of the only times I've ever actually gotten scared
Ooh.
from watching something.
Uh-huh.
Spoiler alert to my early childhood. When I was very young, a movie called Nightmare on Elm Street came out. My older neighbor across the street decided that 5-year-old me should watch that.
Oh, good.
And I did, and then I didn't sleep for 2 weeks, and then I haven't been scared of the cinema since. But it
Good.
yeah, it was I got it all out of my system in one go. And it was fine. But I had one thing that happened, and both times have been bizarre, weird little moments. Once when I watched the first American Ring movie,
Oh, yeah.
there was a bit where one of the characters walks by the side of a television, and there's just this weird little whoop, whoop, like distortion in the TV, along with a bass noise that was kind of like whoop, whoop.
Yeah.
For some reason, absolutely terrified me.
Oh, wow.
Like to the point where I was like, I almost want to leave, right? Like in the theater, I was just freaked out. In Haunting of Hill House, the bit where the mom is chasing him out of the hallway,
Yeah.
for some reason, her performance just got me.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, and I had to stop watching that night.
Yeah.
And I was like, nope, we're coming back in the daytime with the lights on.
Yeah.
It'll be fine at that point, but But yeah, something about that.
Yeah.
And I mean, Carla Gugino.
Yeah.
She's fantastic. But
Everyone is so good in that. It's such,
oh yeah.
They just do such a great job together. And the family story is so compelling. All right. That has nothing to do with our question, but yes. I mean, kind of, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
We wander.
We-
Otherwise, you wouldn't have anything to listen to.
Yeah. You like it or you wouldn't be here anymore.
Right. That's the way you have to look at making a show.
Yeah.
Either if they're gonna like it, great. If they don't,
We have fun.
yeah, right. Because if it's not fun for us, well, okay. I'd be willing to do a show like this if it wasn't fun, if the pay was good.
It's a good thing it's fun.
Exactly. That's what I mean, right? I'm totally engaged because I'm having a great time. But yeah.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
All right. Number 3.
Mailbag number 3 from the archive.
Are you doing it or you want me to?
No, you can do it.
Okay.
I did the last one.
Very good, very good. Greetings, Jackers. Isaac here with the promised tale of success and what is, in my opinion, my peak as a DM. I run a game for 2 of my dear friends. The husband and wife are excellent players and very open-minded. And best of all, not assholes in or out of our games. Huzzah.
Excellent.
They trust me as a DM just as I trust them as players. This is important because the tale I'm about to weave is not your typical story. I told the group that I had an idea for a one-shot. We were in between games and trying to come up with something else to do. And I had this idea I'd been working on and wanted to workshop with them. The setting is 5th edition. I gave them pre-gen characters, a sorcerer and a barbarian. The 2 woke up in a small town that they had traveled to get away from the big city. The barbarian goes to the bar and orders breakfast, and the 2 find the food is mediocre. Even when using magic to make it taste better, it's mediocre. This made my players suspicious. The whole point of food in a tavern is that it tastes better than the garbage you end up eating on the road. After the meal, the 2 check out of the town. Everyone is just pleasant, always smiling. Suddenly the village is attacked, and the 2 fend off the bandits. The barbarian managed to rip off the bandana covering a face, only to find the being faceless.
Ooh.
The moment he looks away to warn the sorcerer, all of their bodies have vanished, leaving nice little piles of treasure behind. The 2 characters are then told that the bandit camp is in the mountains nearby, on the other side of the forest. They are given a quest and promised a reward, but rather than deal with that, they want to just leave this creepy town and get out of before something else bad happens. They try to leave and end up at the forest. Any attempt to leave the forest is met with them just ending up at the entrance again. Frustrated, the 2 enter the forest, which is also screwy because when the sorcerer tries to fly up and get a better view, the trees go up forever, and they seem to never go very far, except on the path that is before them. Eventually, they make it through the forest and to the mountain. More fights with more fights with faceless, nameless enemies, more perfect little piles of loot. The whole time, the players haven't shown distress at all of this. They know something is wrong, but they keep going. All throughout these travels, they will get random headaches when they try and think about their past, or try to figure out why something is happening. And it's only through failure of the rolls that they begin to see a pattern in all the crazy. Things feeling almost too obvious. In the mountain, they find the entrance to a crypt. And it was here that they decide to royally screw with whatever is happening to them. There was a room filled with coffins and a big locked door on the other side. Rather than enter the room and check the coffins, the sorcerer just casts fireball and blows everything up. Rather than try to open the door, they jammed it shut with spikes. Rather than try to find a secret path, they took a hammer to the wall of the dungeon.
Yeah.
The barbarian swung and broke the wall and saw nothing but shining static beyond. The 2 players grinned at each other and dove through the opening, as skeletons and the lich they were supposed to fight were trying to open the jammed door. They found themselves in a void-like place with nothing around them. Suddenly, the barkeep, the blacksmith, the librarian all appeared, all speaking at the same time, saying they would be fed to their god, the great eater of all. One amazing fight later, they 2 suddenly lose consciousness, only to wake up being pulled out of a tub of thick liquid.
Ooh.
The players are stumped, as I am, now asking them questions as the character. Do you know who I am? Do you remember me? And then I let the bomb drop. I called the name of one of their older characters from a campaign from months before. The look on their faces when they realized what happened was amazing. And they literally jumped up and down cheering. This moment I'll never forget.
Aw.
The 2 once kidnapped characters are helped out of their bonds, NPCs from the previous game helping them to escape the cult base they were in, and all ending up with the group getting away on a pirate ship. Months ago, I had ran an experimental game for my friends, and it had turned into a much longer story. We all had fun, we all enjoyed the hijinks involved, but the story had to get cut short due to a new player wanting to join, and various other outside reasons. We always looked back at those characters fondly. I asked the group if they wanted to pick up the story again, and they enthusiastically agreed. I railroaded, but with purpose. The trust I have in my players is absolute. They knew I wouldn't do something like that without reason, and they wanted the story to be told. They followed the tracks, then broke the tracks, and derailed the train in the most glorious of ways. I never could have pulled this off if my group didn't trust one another to be fair, be honest, and be willing to trust the choices given. Agency of my players is only robbed of them when there is no trust. This is my shining moment as a DM, one that I do not think will be topped for a long time to come. Thanks for reading. Isaac from Texas, Drail88 on the forums. P.S. You lost the game.
That's so fun, and it's so cool that the players went along with that, and we're just like figuring something out. Yeah.
I was immediately I'm thinking of the 13th floor.
Yeah.
Right? Like, oh, what do you mean you want to leave L.A.? You gonna drive somewhere else? With no warning? I don't know if you can do that.
Yeah. That's awesome. I also love that they tied in a previous campaign and characters from that. So it's like, I don't know, it's I feel like it gives them more agency in a way, because it's like pulling in stuff that they already made and decided together. So I don't know, I love that little detail's like juicy and like the little cherry on top of the sundae for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
I think it's great that you have a small group that plays well.
Yeah. And a couple that doesn't mess things up.
Right. For sure.
Yeah. Not all couples, but enough of them that it's a problem and a joke. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I could see that going very badly.
Yeah.
If you didn't have the right group.
Mm-hmm.
So knowing that you had the right group is awesome.
Yeah. I think there were also, you gave them enough opportunity that if, they were going to have a bad reaction to it, you would have been able to tell before you went too far.
Yeah.
If they'd gotten, pissed off, well, why aren't we going anywhere in this forest? This is so annoying. Swerve. Plan B.
Yeah. It sounded like you did have off-ramps.
Yes.
Right? You're not stuck on a 200-mile single-lane highway.
Yeah.
You were able to go,
Yeah, they were just able to kind of find a way around it. I like that they could find a way to kind of short circuit and take a little bit more direct path. And that's cool that you went with it. That you let them skip the lich and who are pounding on the door and went with their out of the box thinking, which is the best part of it. Love it. Chef's kiss.
For sure.
Cool. All right. Thank you for joining us for Season 34, Episode 25 of the Happy Jacks RPG Podcast. Please support our amazing Indie Designer of the Month, Megan Dawson-Jaffe from Nerdy City Games. Thank you to our chat mod, James V, and to our amazing Patreons who keep us ad-free and independent. You can join their amazing ranks at happyjacks.org/Patreon. There are additional shows and stuff that you can listen to that are coming back now. So now that I'm a little caught up, then so if you are a Patreon, there are some shows called Nerding Out, which is just us shooting the shit about things that we like.
This was a little preview of tonight was a little bit of a preview.
But we picked a topic that we just like the last one was the Jedi Order that Kai and Joey just talked about forever, which is great. It was very entertaining, but so they're on specific topics, but they're fun even if you don't really know the topics. All right. My name is Kimmy. You can find me at happyjacks.org, or you can find me at goldenlassogames.com. Don't forget. Oh, you go first, actually. Sorry, go ahead.
What?
Hi, I'm Dave.
Okay. You sounded like you were right in the middle of it.
I was about to, but then I said I thought you should do your thing first.
Okay. All right. Here I am. I'm Kadave. You can find me online at CA Sith Lord. I'm more on Blue Sky than anywhere else nowadays. But you can also find me on Twitch at CA Sith Lord, where I have been streaming Space Trucker recently. I saw somebody that was I'm unrecognizable without my trucker hat on, which has become my Twitch thing that I enjoy sharing my weird travels, because I'm sort of a king of road trips, and I've decided that picking up trucker hats is a great way to do that. Because no matter what happens in my life, the hats still fit.
That's a good point.
Bigger, smaller, you can still put on a hat. And then I also enjoy the fact that now that I have my kids and they come with me on these trips, they will someday get the hats
Aw.
and be like, "Oh, I remember when we went to that
That's
place," or
great.
whatever.
Yeah,
Like that kind of jam. So,
that's sweet and
Uh,
morbid.
right, you know,
That's parenting, pretty much.
that's the whole of parenting. One of my kids got shot with a Nerf gun in the eye today. Probably is going to get a black eye.
Oh no,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
too bad.
Hilariously, the one wearing her glasses. And in the moment that her glasses went
It's down slightly.
just a little slide down the nose was exactly timed for a flying Nerf bolt.
Yeah,
It was a mess.
yeah.
But
It's amazing how they do that. Like they're just
like, what are the chances?
like the one tiny thing of glass in the house. Oh, now we're at the ER for stitches. Cool, this is fine. Like how did everything has safety stuff on it? Literally every drawer. The one thing. Okay, fine.
Yup. But
Fun.
they had a lot of fun with them up until that moment.
Oh,
And now they understand why I kept saying aim low.
aim low. Aw. Yep.
But it is what
Some
it
lessons
is.
have to be learned the hard way.
Exactly. Like I've always followed the advice of kids and teenagers are dumb and they will make dumb choices. Our goal as parents is to just prevent them from making the dumbest choices.
Excellent.
So here
All
I
right.
am.
My bar is sufficiently adjusted. That's excellent. Good.
It makes you feel better.
Yeah, it does, honestly. All right. Oh yeah. So yeah, please remember, we're taking 2 weeks off. Then the live show will be recorded in season 35 on Saturday afternoons at 5 p.m. Pacific time. And then, as always, released on YouTube and all the podcast sources at your leisure to be listened to later. So yeah, check us out then. And we are going to leave you with a song called Jenny of the Old Stones by the Mary Sues. And you can find them at marysuesband.com. I think I haven't updated that website in a while, but it should still be there.
I mean, things usually don't just disappear, Ren.
Yeah, you never know with WordPress. It's like, it hasn't been updated. It's like crash. Okay. So yeah, anyway, we will see you in 2 weeks. Take care.
And before then, jump on the Discord, play some games.
January 11th. Yeah. Game days.
Oh,
Game
yeah.
days.
Thank you, James.
Yes.
You're the man.
High in the halls of the kings who are gone, Jenny would dance with her ghosts. The ones she had lost and the ones she had found, and the ones who had loved her the most. The ones who'd been gone for so very long, she couldn't remember their names. They spun her around on the damp old stones, spun away from all sorrow and pain. And she never wanted to leave, never wanted to leave, never wanted to leave, never wanted to leave. They danced through the day and into the night, through the snow that swept through the hall, from winter to summer, then winter again, till the walls did crumble and fall. She never wanted to leave, never wanted to leave, never wanted to leave, never wanted to leave. High in the hall of the kings who are gone, Jenny would dance with